I saw the blood before my sister did. She was laughing, spinning in her bridesmaid dress for our cousin Hannah's wedding, and there it was, a dark stain spreading across the pale blue fabric near her ribs. Not period blood. Wrong location, wrong color. Too viscous. My name is Claire. I'm 31. And I'm an ER nurse. I've seen enough trauma to know when something is catastrophically wrong. We were at the final dress fitting, 3 weeks before Hannah's big day. The bridal boutique smelled like champagne and tulle. All the bridesmaids squeezed into the fitting room while Hannah stood on the platform in her gown. My sister Maggie, 28, Hannah's favorite cousin, always the life of every party, was doing a mock runway walk to make everyone laugh. That's when I saw it. A spreading darkness on the left side of her dress, just below her bra line. I went cold. Maggie didn't notice. She was too busy hamming it up for the camera Hannah's mom was holding. But I'd seen enough spontaneous bleeding to know this wasn't normal. This wasn't a scratched bug bite or a popped pimple. The stain was growing, and Maggie hadn't bumped into anything. I grabbed her wrist mid-spin and pulled her toward the corner. She laughed, thinking I was playing along with her theatrics. "Claire, what? Turn around," I said quietly. "Don't make a scene. Just turn around." The smile fell off her face when she saw my expression. She turned. I lifted her hair and pulled the dress fabric away from her skin. There was a lesion. About 2 inches across, raised and irregular, oozing blood and something that looked like pus but smelled wrong. Sweet. Necrotic, sweet. My hands went numb. "Maggie," I said, keeping my voice level. "When did this appear?" "What? I don't..." She craned her neck, trying to see. "I've had a weird bump there for like 6 months, but it never..." "6 months?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. "You've had a bleeding, growing lesion for 6 months, and you didn't see a doctor?" She pulled away from me, defensive now. "It wasn't bleeding until right now. It was just a little bump. I thought it was a cyst or something." I grabbed her hand again. "Maggie, listen to me. We need to go to urgent care. Right now." Hannah appeared beside us, face glowing with bridal excitement. "Everything okay? Maggie, you look gorgeous. Claire, doesn't she look..." "Hannah, I'm sorry," I interrupted. "Maggie and I need to leave. It's a medical thing." Maggie's face flushed red. "Claire, stop. You're freaking out over nothing. Your dress is soaked in blood. That's not nothing." All the women in the fitting room went quiet. Hannah's mother lowered the camera. My Aunt Carol, Maggie's mom, and Hannah's mom's sister pushed through the crowd. "What's going on?" Aunt Carol asked, her voice tight. I looked at Maggie, then at my aunt. "Maggie has a lesion that needs immediate medical attention. I need to take her to..." "Can you let Maggie speak for herself?" Aunt Carol snapped. "She's an adult, Claire. You're not her doctor." Maggie wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly looking small. "It's fine, Mom. Claire's just being dramatic. It's a little bump. It bled a tiny bit. It's not a big deal." I wanted to scream. Instead, I pulled out my phone and held it up. "Maggie, I'm going to take a picture of this. You can decide what to do, but at least you'll have documentation." "Absolutely not," Aunt Carol said, stepping between us. "You're not taking pictures of my daughter without her consent. What is wrong with you?" Hannah touched my arm. "Claire, maybe you're overreacting? If Maggie says it's fine." "It's bleeding through her dress. Spontaneously." I looked directly at Maggie. "That's not fine. That's stage 3 at minimum. Possibly stage 4. The room went silent. Someone whispered, "Stage 4 what?" Maggie's face went white. "You think I have cancer? I think you have something that needs a biopsy. Today." Aunt Carol's voice went icy. "You're not a dermatologist, Claire. You're an ER nurse. You have no business diagnosing anyone, especially not my daughter, especially not at Hannah's dress fitting." I felt like I'd been slapped. But I kept my eyes on Maggie. "You're right. I'm not a dermatologist. Which is why I want you to see one. Right now." Maggie looked at her mom, then at Hannah, then back at me. I could see her struggling. She wanted to believe it was nothing. She wanted to stay at the fitting, finish the champagne, take the photos. She wanted this to be a normal, happy day. "I'll make an appointment on Monday," she said quietly. "Monday might be too late." "Oh, for God's sake, Claire!" Aunt Carol exploded. "Stop terrorizing her. You see blood in the ER every day, and now you think every little thing is a catastrophe. Maggie is fine. She'll make an appointment when it's convenient. And in the meantime, we have a wedding to prepare for. This is Hannah's moment. Stop making it about you." About me? I wasn't the one bleeding through my clothes. But everyone was staring at me like I was the problem. Like I was the one ruining the day. Hannah's face had lost its glow. The other bridesmaids looked uncomfortable. My mother, who'd been quiet until now, shook her head slightly. "A warning." I looked at Maggie one more time. "Please," I said, "just let me take you to urgent care. We'll come back if it's nothing." "But if it's not nothing, that's enough," my mother said firmly. "Maggie said she'll handle it on Monday. Let it go, Claire." I wanted to drag Maggie out of there by force. I wanted to call 911. I wanted to shake everyone in that room until they understood that skin cancer doesn't wait for convenient appointments, that melanoma can metastasize in weeks, that I'd seen a 30-year-old die from ignoring a little bump for 8 months. But Maggie was backing away from me. And everyone was looking at me like I was hysterical. So I left. I walked out of that boutique, got in my car, and sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes trying not to cry. I texted Maggie. "Please send me a picture of the lesion. Please go to urgent care today. I love you." She didn't respond. The wedding was 3 weeks away. I called Maggie every day. She didn't answer. I texted her articles about melanoma, about the importance of early detection, about survival rates when caught early versus late. She blocked my number. I called my mother. "Mom, please. Talk to Maggie. Make her go to a doctor. Claire, you embarrassed her in front of the entire bridal party. You made Hannah's fitting about yourself. Maggie is humiliated. She's bleeding through her clothes." She said it stopped. She said it was just a little bleed and it scabbed over. "You're not her doctor. You need to apologize and back off." I called Aunt Carol. She hung up on me. I showed up at Maggie's apartment. She wouldn't open the door. "Through the wood," she said. "You ruined Hannah's day. Everyone thinks you're insane. Just leave me alone." "Did you make an appointment?" "That's none of your business." 2 weeks before the wedding, Hannah called me. I thought maybe she was going to disinvite me, but instead she said, very carefully, "Maggie went to a dermatologist yesterday." My heart jumped. "And?" "They did a biopsy. They said it's probably nothing, but they're running tests to be sure. She'll get results next week." Relief flooded through me. "Thank God. Hannah, thank you for—" "But Claire, she's really upset with you. Like, really upset. She thinks you made her paranoid for nothing. So maybe just give her space until after the wedding, okay?" I agreed. I would have agreed to anything at that point. The wedding was beautiful. Maggie looked stunning in her bridesmaid dress, a different one, I noticed, cut higher in the back. She didn't speak to me during the ceremony or the reception. When I tried to approach her at the cocktail hour, she turned and walked away. My mother pulled me aside. "Stop it. You've already caused enough drama. I just wanted to check on her. She's fine. The biopsy came back benign. It was a seborrheic keratosis. Totally harmless." "You freaked out over nothing, made her spend money on unnecessary tests, and stressed her out for weeks. Are you happy now? Benign?" I felt dizzy with relief and confusion. Seborrheic keratoses didn't bleed like that, they didn't smell like that. But maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe I really had let my ER trauma brain see catastrophe where there was none. I found Maggie during the reception. She was laughing with Hannah's sister, drinking champagne, her left hand absently rubbing her shoulder blade, like it itched or hurt. "Maggie," I said quietly, "I'm so glad the biopsy was benign. I'm sorry I scared you. Scared me?" She turned to face me, eyes bright with anger and champagne. "You humiliated me. You treated me like a child in front of everyone. You acted like I was dying from some mystery disease when it was literally just a harmless skin thing. Do you know how stupid I felt at that dermatologist's office, saying my nurse sister freaked out over a keratosis? I was worried, the way it was bleeding. It bled one time, for like 30 seconds. God, Claire, you're so dramatic. You think everyone's dying because you work in an ER. Normal people don't live like that. Normal people don't run to the hospital every time they have a weird bump. Behind her, my aunt gave me a look that said, "Walk away." I walked away. 3 months later, my mother called me at 6 a.m. The tone of her voice made my stomach drop before she said a word. "Maggie's in the hospital. She collapsed at work. They found stage 4 melanoma. It's metastasized to her lymph nodes, lungs, and liver." I couldn't breathe. The biopsy. She went to a boutique dermatology clinic, one of those med spa places. They did a shave biopsy, only took cells from the surface. Completely missed the melanoma underneath, told her it was benign and sent her home. I drove to the hospital in a blur. Maggie was sedated, tubes everywhere, her skin gray. Aunt Carol sat in the corner of the room, face blank with shock. When she saw me, something cracked in her expression. For a moment, I thought she was going to apologize. Instead, she said, "If you'd just minded your own business, none of this would have happened." I stared at her. What? She wouldn't have gone to that cheap clinic if you hadn't terrified her. She would have taken her time, found a real dermatologist, gotten proper care, but you made her panic. So she went to the first place she could get an appointment. "This is your fault." My mother, standing in the doorway, didn't contradict her. Over the next 2 weeks, while Maggie started emergency chemotherapy, the story solidified in my family. I had caused this. My overreaction had pushed Maggie to a cheap clinic. My hysteria had resulted in a botched biopsy. If I'd just stayed quiet, let Maggie handle it on her own timeline, she would have done it right. Never mind that her own timeline was never. Never mind that she'd ignored that lesion for 6 months before I saw it. Never mind that early detection could have saved her life. I was the villain, the alarmist, the one who'd set this nightmare in motion. Maggie survived the initial treatment, but the prognosis was grim. Stage 4 melanoma has a 5-year survival rate of about 22%. The oncologist said if it had been caught even 2 months earlier, before it reached her organs, her survival rate would have been over 90%. I became obsessed. I started researching boutique dermatology clinics, the ones that operate more like spas than medical facilities, places that do Botox and fillers and quick skin checks without proper equipment or board-certified doctors, places that do superficial biopsies to save money, missing the cancer growing underneath. The clinic Maggie went to was called Radiant Skin Solutions. Their website featured stock photos of smiling women and promises of affordable cosmetic dermatology. The doctor who did Maggie's biopsy was actually a nurse practitioner who'd been disciplined twice for practicing beyond her scope. I filed a complaint with the state medical board. I left reviews warning people away from Radiant Skin. I found online forums where other people shared stories, loved ones misdiagnosed, cancers missed, lives destroyed by clinics more focused on profit than patient care. My family found out. Aunt Carol called me, screaming, "You're trying to sue them? Are you insane? Do you know how this makes Maggie look? Like she's too stupid to pick a real doctor? They misdiagnosed her. She chose to go there. That was her decision, a decision she made because you panicked her. And now you're going to drag her name through some lawsuit, make her look like a victim, embarrass her even more? She is a victim. She's a grown woman who made her own choices. Stop trying to be the hero of someone else's story." She hung up. Then she, my mother, and Hannah started a family group chat without me. I only found out because Hannah's sister, who still spoke to me, sent me a screenshot. They were planning Maggie's 30th birthday party and debating whether to invite me. The consensus was no. Too stressful for Maggie. Too much drama. I sat on my apartment floor and cried for 2 hours. 6 months after her diagnosis, Maggie went into remission. A miracle, the doctors said. The chemo had worked better than expected. She'd need monitoring for years, but she had a fighting chance. I sent flowers to her apartment. She sent them back. I sent a card. It was returned unopened. My mother called and said, very carefully, "Maggie's doing well. She's starting to feel like herself again. She's requested that you not contact her anymore. She needs to focus on healing. And your presence makes her anxious." I just wanted to tell her I'm glad she's okay. I'll pass that along. But Claire, you need to respect her boundaries. She's been through enough. I started seeing a therapist. I needed someone to tell me I wasn't crazy. That seeing a bleeding lesion and wanting someone to get medical help wasn't hysteria. That I hadn't caused this, my therapist said. Your family is scapegoating you because accepting the truth that Maggie ignored something dangerous and then received inadequate care is too painful. It's easier to blame you than to sit with that reality. It didn't make it hurt less. A year after the diagnosis, I got a letter in the mail. Not from Maggie. From Hannah's sister, Jessica. Inside was a printout of an email. Maggie had sent it to Jessica 6 months before the wedding, before the dress fitting. The email said, "I've had this weird bump on my back for a while, and it's starting to look kind of gross. I'm scared to go to the doctor. What if it's cancer? I can't deal with that right now, not with Hannah's wedding coming up. I'll wait until after." Jessica's note said, "I thought you should know. She knew something was wrong. She chose to wait. None of this was your fault." I read that email 20 times. Then I put it in a folder labeled Evidence and filed a formal complaint with the medical board against Radiant Skin Solutions, attaching everything I'd found: Maggie's case, 11 other similar cases, evidence of unqualified staff performing biopsies, a pattern of misdiagnoses. 8 months later, Radiant Skin Solutions was shut down. The state medical board suspended the nurse practitioner's license. 3 other patients joined a class action lawsuit. My family didn't acknowledge it. When I mentioned it to my mother, she said, "That's nice, Claire," in the same tone you'd use for a child showing you a crayon drawing. Maggie's still in remission. She posts on social media about her cancer journey, about being a survivor, about trusting your intuition and advocating for yourself. She never mentions the boutique clinic. She never mentions me. Last month, she got engaged. The announcement was all over Facebook. She's marrying a guy she met in a cancer support group. The comments were full of heart emojis and congratulations, and people calling her inspiring. I wasn't invited to the engagement party. My mother called and said, "I know this is hard, but Maggie's building a new life. She needs to surround herself with positive energy. You remind her of the worst time in her life," I said. I tried to save her life. My mother was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I know you believe that, but Maggie doesn't see it that way. And at the end of the day, it's her story to tell." I hung up and sat in my kitchen, staring at nothing. The folder labeled Evidence is still on my desk. Inside are printouts of all the complaints against Radiant Skin, the medical board's findings, news articles about the clinic's closure, proof that I did something, that I wasn't crazy. But my sister still won't speak to me. My family still thinks I overreacted. And the truth that I saw her dying and no one would listen doesn't matter to anyone but me. Last week, I started volunteering with a patient advocacy group that helps people navigate dermatology care and recognize warning signs of skin cancer. I give talks at community centers about the difference between legitimate medical practices and cosmetic clinics masquerading as healthcare. People thank me after these talks. They say I saved their lives, or their mother's life, or their friend's life. They hug me and cry and tell me I'm doing important work. I smile and say thank you and go home to my empty apartment where my sister's blocked number is still in my phone. I did the right thing. I know I did the right thing, but I paid for it with my family, and some days, I'm not sure the math works out.